Hey everyone, it's Maribel Blue. Welcome to my life coaching channel. I just finished recording an unfiltered, hence the same shirt. I figured let me just do videos back to back so that I can knock them out of the way and edit it so that I can present it here to you. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. There's a playlist for everything. There'll be a playlist for topics like this, where I'm just talking about different things when it comes to life. I have a meditation list. I actually put up a new video. It's a 6-hour video. Let me tell you something. That's probably the last video that I will make for 6 hours. It took all day just for it to encode and then for me to post it on YouTube. So I think my meditation videos are going to be shorter. You can see the playlist on YouTube, and it's also on my maribelblue.com website. So you can see the meditation videos is there as well. Don't forget to sign up for the mailing list. That way you'll get all of the notifications for when I post a new blog, because sometimes conversations will come up that's not going to come up on this channel, and I'll write about it in a blog. So there's two different things that you can read and hear for yourself. And if you're not new to my channel, welcome back. Just in case I hadn't said it before, today's topic, we are going to talk about taking responsibility for your own behaviors and actions. This topic basically came to me by something that happened a few days ago. And I'm not going to get into the details of what was the message that I received and the details of the event that happened. It definitely gave me pause as to what was happening in this situation. So I received a message on December 21st. Instagram is pretty good at, when people are not following you, they will filter out the messages in like a hidden box. So most of the time, I'm not even paying attention to half of those messages. Most of those messages are, hey, you'll make a great ambassador for our jewelry, etc., etc. And it's all scams. Like, I don't even bother paying attention to it. I just delete it. And you know how like your phone gives you kind of like notifications of, yeah, you got a message on Instagram. By chance, as I'm scrolling through, because a lot of the times I don't even pay attention to the notifications on my phone, I see something about hacking into emails. And I'm like, oh my God, like what happened? So I go and I open up the message and I'm reading it and I'm saying to myself, well, whoever this is knows me because they used my government name, but I don't know what they're talking about. Like, I was totally perplexed. The ending of the sentence was, upon viewing your profiles, you come off like you have a conscience, but we all know that you don't. And I'm saying to myself, how is this? It was just crazy. I sent it to a friend of mine. She goes, what craziness is this? Do you know this person? And I'm like, I don't think so, but like, who could it be? And then finally, when I looked at the screen name, I'm like, I know who this is. And then I realized that this person who's been out of my life since 2009 still hasn't gotten over an event that happened that year. That person wants to blame me for her action. And as I thought about all of the things that transpired, and I still have receipts because, you know, I keep everything. Because when you want to come back and perpetuate your lies to people, I have the truth of what happened. And I stand my ground on what happened during that time. It was very, very problematic. In short, I took a trip in 2009 and I hadn't seen this person for many years. What transpired during that trip is something that I will not disclose here. I will just say this. There were things that happened that genuinely concerned me. Now, this was a person who was in and out of my life. You know what? Sometimes I think about it now, and I thought about it over the, not over the years. I shouldn't say over the years, but it was kind of like, you know how like a situation happens or an event happens and you recall a memory and you're like, oh yeah, you know, like something similar happened. I don't think that person really liked me. And that's what went through my head a lot of the times. This was a person who didn't like me. I don't know if she wanted to like me or there were, I don't know what it was. I'm like this. If I'm not really feeling a person for whatever reason that is, I normally tend to stay away. I don't see myself faking a relationship for whatever reason. I can't even fake a relationship, let alone fake a friendship that a person is not really sincere with me or doesn't like me for whatever reason. I have come a long way in the sense that I don't worry about what other people think about me or how people view me. And it took years for me to come to that point to say, you know what? If you don't like me, I'm fine with that. I have nothing to prove. I don't have to prove anything to you. You go your way, I'll go my way, and that's that. And not a lot of people are very comfortable with that. They want the world to like them, they want the world to love them, they want to be accepted. And you know what? We don't live in a world like that. We never did. There are people who are just not going to be open or receptive to you. Even if you're a great person, even if you have a great personality and you're outgoing and you're charitable, there's always going to be that one person. It's not always a troll, people, okay? It's just the fact of life. It took a long time for me to be comfortable in my own skin to say, you know what? If you don't like me, that's fine. You're not paying my bills. You're not paying my mortgage. You don't live in the same house that I live in. It's fine. I don't have to worry about any of that. And when I realized that I didn't have to take the responsibility of somebody else's disdain over me, I just kept it moving. What's scary is how somebody is still holding on to something that happened in 2009 and they can't let it go. And that's the scary part. Not being able to let go of a resentment that you have with somebody can be extremely unhealthy. There's a saying that when you have a resentment, it's like pissing on yourself. You're the only one who's feeling it because the other person is just going off on their merry way, and you're still sitting there angry and resentful, and everything that has happened in your life is that other person's fault. A lot of the times you have to sit back and say, well, when do I stop blaming other people and take responsibilities for my own behavior? When this incident occurred, I was contacted by two of this person's friends, and I shared with them what had happened. Thinking about it now, had I had the knowledge then that I have now, I probably would have said, you know what? You need to contact them. Don't involve me. If you need to find out what's going on, speak to them. I didn't do that because I felt like this was a concern. I'm coming from a sincere place. They must be coming from a sincere place. So let me let them know what's going on. And that's where the fiasco basically happened and everything fell back on me. Now I take responsibility for that because, like I said, you just heard me before, I should have handled it another way. When you're amongst friends, you think to yourself, if I share this information, maybe they can reach them and help them somehow. And that's where my mindset was. And you know what? The fact of the matter is, when you think that you're helping someone because you're afraid of what they're involved with, sometimes you have to truly let it go. But on the flip side of it is the part where, let's say you had something happen to you and you're finding trouble getting past it. How do you get past it? One of the things that I found very helpful for myself is writing a pros and cons list. That has always helped me. It's helped me in relationships. It's helped me with jobs. It's helped me with people that maybe I felt like I disliked them, but then I found out that a lot of the things that they were doing, it was either because A, I wanted to be like them to attain what that other person was aspiring to do. And once I kept the focus back on myself was when I started to realize, hey, I don't have to act as if, I don't have to be like that person. We all have our own personality. The most important thing is, how do we nurture our personality so that we can grow and be better? Because remember, we don't do things for other people so that other people could be happy. I was watching an interview. Howard Stern was interviewing Lizzo. And there was something that she said in that interview that really hit home when they were talking about writing music. And she was talking about either writing music that's going to make her happy or writing music that's going to make her fans happy. Regardless of what creative sector you're in, ask yourself, are you doing this because it makes you happy, or are you doing it because you think it's going to make some unknown person happy? When I started this channel, it was basically on a whim. I said to myself, you know what? I did an interview with Andrew from Caliber Wellness, and I was like, I'm just going to record. My hair looks awful. I feel awful. I'm just going to start recording and introduce this channel. And long and behold, now it's growing. I'm getting views. People are enjoying my content. It's expanding. I even changed the title of it. It's called Life Coaching Realities. I want to start incorporating different topics like I had talked about with the cult mentality in the workplace. And I'm going to do a part two. Don't worry, I didn't forget that. We're still going to do a part two. Finding the comfortability with yourself is the most important thing. When all of this happened, it was very, very stressful. But I will say this, when our friendship ended, there was a sense of relief that that person will no longer be around in my realm. What's disturbing is how that person is stalking your profile, writing on their profiles like what a bitch you are. I wish I could cut out this picture because she's such a bitch. Like all of these things, first of all, don't affect me whatsoever. I can care less. Again, I said it at the top of this episode. I don't sit here wondering what other people think of me. What other people think of me and how they view me means nothing. It's the people that I want to reach that want to make a difference in their lives. How did I get here? Literally, it was a day at a time. It didn't happen overnight. It's a work in progress. Every day is a work in progress. There are things that sometimes I don't want to do, but I do it anyway because I know at the end of the day, I'm going to feel better about myself that I did it. So when I started this channel, it was exciting for me, and it still is an exciting prospect. I can now reach people on a bigger forum, on a bigger spectrum to talk about my experiences, to feel like, you know what, if somebody doesn't want to speak to you anymore, if they don't want to be your friend, you're going to be fine. Nothing is going to happen. Your world is not going to collapse. Sometimes, like relationships, friendships end. They serve their purpose. Now, how do we take responsibilities for our own behavior? How do we not blame other people for our downfalls, for our failures, whatever that may be? Because you know what? We can fail at something. It doesn't mean that we're a total failure, that we can't come back from that. Of course, we can't come back from that. But how do we come back from that? How do we not point the finger at other people saying, well, because of that person, I can't do this? There was something that I used to hear a lot in 12 step meetings. When you point the finger, three are pointing back at you. And it took me a long time for me to understand that. I'm like, I don't understand that. How are three pointing back at me? And then I did it and I'm like, oh, it's that simple. Once you are able to understand what the situation is, what's going on, that's when you have to step out of yourself, make a pros and cons list, write in a diary, not on a computer per se. Get a book out, write in that book, write your thoughts, whatever that may be. A lot of people I've noticed want to make changes because they feel like if there's another person involved, they have to change. They have to do it for that person, because if that person doesn't see how much they've changed, they're going to be misunderstood. They're going to fail that person. And then when that person doesn't accept you, doesn't accept your change, or they stepped outside of that and sought something else, now you're mad. But look at all the things that I was doing. Didn't they see how much I've changed? Didn't they see the effort that I put in? I'm sure that they have. But did you do it for them or did you do it for yourself? It's very dangerous when you start making changes for everybody else but yourself. You should only make changes for the betterment of your life. Is how you go about the changes. What changes do you want to make? Make a list of that. Make a list of what it is that you want to change. If you need help, that's when you contact a person like myself, who's a life coach, where we can sort all of these things out and break everything down. How you can go about making these effective changes in your life. It's not going to happen overnight. You have to give yourself time. One of the things that I had wrote in the last blog was that people, and probably not the last blog, the last video that I did, you have a lot of these life coaches that do like this accelerated process. You want to be rich? This is what you got to do. Yeah, I made like $1 million like in 30 days. Maybe that happens for some people, but when you're taking a realistic view on your life and what it is that you wish to achieve, don't put yourself in that position, because if 30 days comes and you don't have $1 million, you're going to be real mad and disappointed. And guess what? You're going to point the finger at everybody else. It's their fault that this didn't happen. That's what happens. People are very quick to blame. They want to put the blame on other people. It's easier to put the blame on other people. My life is a mess because of that person. Everything went downhill because of what they said. Things aren't going my way because of them. At some point, you have to stop. You have to stop doing that. You have to stop blaming other people. You can't blame other people for the rest of your life. It's not healthy. It's not good. You will never accomplish anything if you keep going that route. Here's the other thing that I want to say. In a time that we live with social media being so prevalent and seeing these couples goals and pranks that they play on each other and things that they do together, a lot of the times I sit back and I'm like, yeah, I want that. I want to meet that person who's going to be open to playing pranks and going out and doing this and doing that. I've yet to meet that person, but I'm sure they're going to show up like when I'm not looking for them. Ideally, yeah, it would be nice to have like a person who is involved with my videos and we're doing things together and maybe writing books together. Where is that person? Let me not even go there. But the thing is when you're looking at social media and you're seeing all of these things and people display like this perfect life that they're living in, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You're just seeing a snippet of what's happening in that video, what they are choosing to share with you. Now, I get messages, of course, from a lot of guys. Hey, good morning. Hi, are you single? And my response is always the same. Look at the bio. You have any questions? Look at the bio. I do not entertain anyone on social media. Personally, for me, after this horrible disaster experience that I had with meeting somebody, I am not open or receptive to meeting anyone via a message on Instagram. Or, well, on TikTok, you really can't do that, which is a good thing unless you're friends. But on Instagram or Facebook, not interested, not open, not receptive. I will not allow that energy within my realm. And see, those are decisions that I'm making because I know those are healthy decisions for me. Now, maybe for somebody else, it may work for them. That's all well and good. No offense to anyone who meets anyone that way. It's just not for me. So these are the decisions that I make for myself as a person who sees life being played through other people on social media. And I think to myself, wow, like what happens if somebody is not in a good place in their life and they see all of this and they're looking at somebody else's life and saying they're just living the perfect life? Don't think that way, because nobody is living the perfect life. Everybody has their struggles in one form or another. The concept is, how would you like to live your life? What would you like to do in the future? What would you like to aspire? What would you like to attain. And then everything else will fall into place. Because you know what? When you get in a relationship with somebody, yes, you have to make compromises. And I was talking to a friend of mine. We've been friends for like over 20 years. And we were talking earlier today. And I was saying that I think relationships should not be difficult. They shouldn't be a thing where it's a constant disaster, where there's discord in the relationship. There shouldn't be discord. Granted that people are going to have their moods, they're going to argue, but there shouldn't be an everyday discord in your relationship, in your friendships. It shouldn't be that way, because then you have to stop and ask yourself, well, why am I in this relationship? Why do I have this person as my friend if I'm not even happy with the friendship? And there's a variety of reasons. Could it be the other person? Of course. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing something wrong. Maybe you're just not meshing with that person as you hoped it would have turned out to be. When I first got clean, I remember there was a woman who was clean for many years before me, and I was working on my first year clean, and she told me, she said, when you come into meetings, watch and listen. You're going to see two types of people: the people who are not doing anything, and the people who are. And you'll know because you're watching and listening. And that really stood with me. I was listening and watching intently. When you go into a 12-step meeting, you don't know anybody. You're listening to their story. They sound powerful, they sound inspirational, and you think to yourself, wow, I hope that I can get to that point in my life, especially when you're not really feeling good about yourself and the things that you experienced in your life. And thinking about what she said reminded me of this woman. There was a woman who would make the meetings, and she would be really angry and she would be upset. And she had a partner and they were always together. And I think at some point they had broken up. And it was just really sad. You could just tell there was so many things going on with her. And whatever it was that was going on would come out in anger. And when she celebrated her anniversary, it's amazing how people are. You think, oh yeah, we love you unconditionally, blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go to her anniversary, regardless of how angry she is, how she expresses herself. And normally this meeting is crowded. And her anniversary came, I forget how much time she was celebrating a number of years. It wasn't like 1 or 2 or whatever. She was up there. She had to be like either 5, 6, 7, or 8. One of those years. I can't remember exactly. And I think like 5 people showed up. And I think to myself, how sad. Like I had to stop, because I remember that day like it was yesterday, that there weren't people there supporting her. They internalized her anger, her disdain, her struggle in her life, whatever was going on, and they weren't there to support her. And I was proud that I was there for her, because her anger wasn't my anger. And you know what? I didn't even write this in my notes. It was just something that came up, because we internalize so much with what other people are saying. We take it personal. And a lot of the times you have to ask yourself, why am I taking that personal? Why is that bothering me? Why is it that when that person speaks or they say certain things, it just gets me upset? Why? Ask yourself. You're the one with the answers, not me. I don't have the answers for you. And this is what life coaching is about. Not for me to give you the answers, for you to think about why those feelings are coming up. And if you don't like those feelings, what are you willing to do about it to change it? I've had experiences. I talked about a disaster that I was involved in, and I call it a disaster. It's not, for me, it was not a relationship. It was literally a disaster day after day. For a long time, I found it really hard to forgive myself, having to deal with narcissistic abuse. But you know what? A day at a time, it gets better. And I don't let that part of my life consume me, because it doesn't make me a bad person that I made a bad choice. It doesn't make me a stupid person that I made a bad choice. Whatever choices I made that I got out of safely doesn't represent the person that I am today. I wanted to share my notes with you. Steps to taking responsibility, being kinder to yourself, being empathetic instead of being biased, being honest with whomever we confide in. Yeah, I know it's hard. Believe me, I know. Being accountable for your actions. Remember, I can sit back and say, hey, you know what? I got into a disaster. It's his fault. What part did I play in? And how could I avoid not putting myself in that position again, regardless of the things that happened that I didn't ask to happen? I could now avoid those mistakes and not beat myself up because it happened. Does that make any sense? Here's something that I wrote, and I always like to read my notes. I feel like it's important. This is what I wrote. Admitting our mistakes. If we experience shame about a decision we made that didn't turn out how we expected, forgiveness doesn't come overnight. Avoid putting a label on yourself or defining yourself from the past, which is what I said before. Confidence building is everyday work. No one is born being confident. Now, just going back to the situation that I talked about in the beginning, people fail. People fail other people. In this situation, I don't feel like I failed anybody. If anything, things happened the way it happened, and I have moved on from that. I no longer need to sit back and defend my actions and say, you know what, I'm not this, I'm not that. I know who I am. My friends know who I am. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. Anybody's overall opinion of me who doesn't know me doesn't matter. I really believe that once we start keeping the focus on ourselves and making a list and just being vigilant, we will start to feel better about ourselves and our decision making. Remember, we're not experts. We don't become experts at decision making. We just become better at it because we're being vigilant. We're not inviting negativity into our space, which I feel is very important. And like I said, remember what resentments are. You're the only one who's feeling them. It's like peeing on yourself. You're the only one feeling the pee. Nobody else is. So we are going to close out this video with a reading, and I took out the Psychic Tarot. So let's see what card pops out for us. If a card doesn't pop out, I'm just going to... Too many cards came out, but one is facing up. And the one that was facing up was Shadow. And I hope that you can see it. I'm facing the other way because I see my monitor, but here we are. This card represents emotions, sensitivity, and a reminder that nothing in life is at a standstill. This is a world of constant flux. And one thing is certain: everything changes. This card is calling you to action. The time is now when you have to face your worst fears and look into the dark shadows of your soul. You must learn to confront what you've avoided and walk courageously through it. Always know that life naturally revitalizes itself as it does. So do you. The Shadow card promises that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Recognize that by no longer denying your past and letting the tears fall, you'll discover the diamonds in the treasure chest of your soul. This is a cleansing process to wash away and clear out what was once avoided, ignored, or pushed aside. This card indicates that this is a time when your psychic sensitivity may be quite intense. Learn to open up to it, or if need be, to turn it down. Your body is one big psychic antenna. So just remember that you're in control of how high or low you want the reception to be. Mother Earth can assist you in this period of change, sensitivity, and healing. These cards, I'm telling you, they never, ever fail. If you don't believe that that card coincides with today's topic, I don't know then. So I hope that this helped you. If you ever need assistance in your journey, this is what I am here for. Life coaching is about looking at the realities of life and being a better person. However, I always say that if you need more than life coaching, please look at a licensed professional that can help you on your way. I always have to stress that. Life coaches, we're not gurus. We don't have all the answers. We don't claim to have all the answers, even though some people will act like they do. That's not what this is about. This is about being a guide to help you being a better person. And with all that being said, thank you so much for listening. As always, remember, be good to yourself, be good to each other, and most importantly, take care of you. Bye, everybody.